Messieurs, veuillez...
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to take a seat, the conference is about to begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The conference is about to begin. Mesdames et
Ladies and gentlemen, could you please take a seat? The conference is about to begin.
Hi, guys. Hi. Yeah, I was about to give a nightmare to the technical team. All right. So we've been meeting with people and they were saying, will you play another game? I know it's the last session. We need the energy that we started from the beginning to go all the way till the end. We just have 90 minutes, 90. At the count of 3, just say energy. That's all we need. 1, 2, 3. Energy! Maintain it right there. Okay. My name is Georgian Durango. I'll be your captain for the next 90 minutes. Please look at the person next to you. Just tell them just ask them one question. Where are we? What do they say? All right. Just tell them at the end. So, the aim of this particular session is very simple. We've had some intense discussions over the last 2 days. So 24 hours of conversation, unpacking layers and layers and layers and layers. The conversations on skills, the conversation on the gaps in our markets, the conversation on education pathways and trying to fit that into existing pathways and curriculums and who needs to be here. Is it a policymaker? Is it the private sector? Is it the millionaire? Is it the young person? Is it the person showcasing skills? It can't be exhausted in 48 hours. It will be extremely unfair to think that we can shift things in one event. And that's why it's all systemic. So what comes out of this, we need all of you to leave Lyon, go to your respective organizations, your respective countries, take it to your events, take the messaging back to your people, and make it as systemic as possible. This conversation cannot change in 1 week, right? So let's just hold it there. We need to give one proper round of applause because as of today, we were just having a discussion, there were over 20,000 young people that came to see the skills booths. Let's just give a warm round of applause for that. So if you had any doubt whatsoever about the kind of interest that different demographics have, it's right there. The market needs this conversation to happen. The demand is there. So it's up to us within this room to see what we do with that to make sure skills move to the top of the global agenda. Now, we did say that we have 90 minutes. We're not going to take too much time. We had the privilege of having Yusra Asali, the WorldSkills Champions Trust representative for MENA, who was on a panel. We really do appreciate Yusra also as a representative. Before Yusra comes on stage, we'd like to take a quick look at this video, and then Yusra, you'll come on. Please. Ladies and gentlemen, Yusra Asali.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yusra Asali from Morocco. I'm a young WorldSkills champion who's excited about the future. A future which your gender, where you lived, and outdated societal expectation didn't dictate your career path. A future where you're encouraged to talk, your voice is heard, and your words taken into consideration because you have a say in the decision making. But how can we ensure it? Well, let me tell you one key word: change. We must think differently about the future. Young people have an important perspective that must be heard. That is why today I was proud to be one of the 17 young people who took part in the International Youth Forum organized by WorldSkills France, WorldSkills Lyon 2024, and La Métropole de Lyon. We came from every region around the globe. We represent many skills and professions, and we are rich in cultural diversity. Among our differences, there are issues in skills universal to us all that are youth and empowerment, well-being at work, the technological transition, and global issues such as climate change and social inequity. Rich in our cultural diversity and the variety of professions represented, our discussion began in June with online group work session accompanied by vocational training experts. Then this week, eager to tackle the challenges, we invited 12 decision makers in politics, economics, and education to discuss and tell them about the issues that concern us and the ideas and the solution that we have for tomorrow. So I'm here now to represent the Youth Forum, as well as million more young people that may not be in this room, but deserve to be heard. I ask you to listen to my voice when I say our world needs investments in skills urgently, and young people need you to be the catalyst of the change. So when you leave this room today, we ask you to think about the part you can play in answering our questions. How can we ensure our TVET systems keep up with the rapid shift in technology? How can we use AI to improve our lives? How can you help us feel valued at work and tackle prejudice that have limited access for too many, for too long? How you can make sure that we do not have to trade off sustainable practices in favor of profitability? I know these are not simple questions, but many of the answers have been discussed over the last 2 days. And many of the people who can advance progress are in this room. As you answer them, remember, young people see things from a different angle, and we cannot talk about the future and the next plans without including youth. So talk to us more. Give us the microphone more often. Draw on our diversity of thinking and our lived experience, and include us in the planning, design, and implementations of policies. Because when we work together, we have the power to reimagine our skills system. That is why today is not a day to move slowly. Today is a day to set up and take actions. Today is your chance to reflect on what you can change in the system that you influence to make them more inclusive, more agile, and quicker to react. Please do not waste this opportunity and see the world with the optimism of those who want to dream big, who want to make the change, and who want to build a bold future, and who knows that the challenges are the real catalyst for real change that benefits us all. Thank you so much. And I would like to invite my youth colleague at the Youth Forum. Thank you.
So at this juncture, yes. We had the youth convention, the conversations that you had all through the last 2 days. It's not easy, and I know most of the time we feel like we're speaking and then the decision is left to other people to make on what the future is. Dan, I will not forget what you said yesterday. He said, even as you go ahead to have young people, and we mentioned it with Shweta as well, as you go ahead to have young people in your organizations, make sure you have young people that disagree with you, not just people that say yes every time, right? So we will not forget that, right? So we've had the outcome of the forum, we've had the CTA, we really do appreciate it. We need to take all the pictures. We've seen you take all the pictures now. Everyone, this is what we're here for primarily. Take the pictures, have all the applause, and then we'll get into our panel discussion. 1 full minute to you guys. Okay, You're shy. All right. Thank you, Yusra. So Yusra, you'll stay on stage. You'll take the second last seat. Take this. Now, we'll jump into a quick panel discussion, and as we've mentioned, we'll maintain the energy on a high. I'd like to call the speakers on stage. Marty Gui is the Vice President for Business Development at DeWalt, a Stanley Black & Decker brand in the States. Marty, please join us on stage. Geoffroy Dovitry is the High Commissioner for Vocational and Educational Training here in France. Dara Treseda is the CMO at Autodesk. It's an absolute pleasure. We'll take the second seat, then follow after him. Srinivas Reddy, Chief of Skills and Employability at ILO. Borhen Chakrun is the Director of Policies and Lifelong Learning Systems at UNESCO. At the end. Geoffrey, we'll start off with you. First of all, congratulations on what France has done this week. It's nothing tiny, and thank you very much for your hospitality. France is transforming and strengthening its TVET system and vocational institutions. So such events like this help the process. But behind the scenes, I know there's a lot of preparation and a lot of work that happens before. You've done some reforms. How have they been, and how now does it tie back to different sectors?
Thank you very much, Georgie. First, I would like to say hello to everybody. I would like to say that I will try to maintain my skills in having this speech in English. If I'm not too accurate in some words, I may switch to French, but I think it will be okay. Let me tell you that I am so happy to be here, and I am so happy to have you here today. You said earlier that 20,000 young people were here today in Lyon, and that's a great success, because it means that 20,000 young people just discovered jobs, and it is essential for us. As I said yesterday, it is part and parcel of our public policy for employment and training. So I think we can have a big applause for these young people. Thank you. To answer your question, I would say that yes, France has implemented several reforms of its training system. One major reform was in 2018, and I won't detail the reform, but one great success is the development of apprenticeship. We have tripled the number of apprentices since 2018. And I want to pay tribute to Muriel Pénicaud. I know maybe she's around, I don't know, because she was the minister in charge of this reform, and it was kind of a training revolution in France. We know that apprenticeship is a very good pathway, to insert into the labor market. We have very good figures. So it is one reform. And another reform was launched in 2023, the reform of vocational high schools. And former Minister Carole Grandjean was in charge. And she launched this very ambitious reform. I won't be too specific, but the main thing is that we had 30% of vocational high school students in France, and they are the students that are, I think, the least talked about in the public debate. And they are a fantastic opportunity because we have a great lack of competences, of skills. Companies, I think you agree with me, but companies are struggling to find skills. And so this reform has three pillars. The first one is to personalize their course in the final year of high school. There are two tracks. One track for them who want to directly go to the labor market, and one track for those who want to pursue their studies. And the other thing is that we wanted to strengthen the link between companies, the economic environment, and schools, with several very efficient measures, in my opinion. Finally, and I won't be any longer, but finally, we want to transform the training programs, the list of the training programs, to create new training programs and to transform those that are maybe not adapted right now to the needs.
All right, so that's very clear. So we'll go picking out things as we continue with the conversation. So sometimes it's not changing the whole curriculum, which a few countries have tried, and it's seemingly impossible to change an entire curriculum, but it's just fitting it at the right point on the pathway, right? So let's speak to Dara. We've heard from the Commissioner, bringing businesses closer to TVET institutions. So as the CMO of an industry tech leader like Autodesk, how do you reconcile these three? We need to support education, we need to make sure that what we have now will also cater to a rapidly changing workforce, and we still need to say skills are the way to go. How do you reconcile these three?
Yeah, first of all, really excited to be here at WorldSkills, and I think this is an important conversation, and I'm glad that you're involving the private sector in this conversation. So the first question might be, why does the private sector have a voice? Why is the private sector participating in this conversation? And I'll say it's because as industry leaders, as technology leaders, we shape a lot of what happens in society. And let's take Autodesk, for example. Some of you might know what Autodesk is. Our software is used to design and make the world around us, whether it's this Eurexpo Center that we've spent the past few days walking in, or it's the phone you have in your hands right now. It's used to design and make the world. And we span a variety of industries: architecture, construction, engineering, product design, manufacturing, media, and entertainment. There is one common thread across all of these industries. And what is that? There is a skills gap. We actually did a survey with over 5,000 of our customers globally around the world. And what nearly half, almost 50% of the industry professionals in our annual State of Design and Make report, they said, we don't have the right skills. So clearly we know that education is very important and critical, but that skills gap is real. That skills gap exists. So what are we going to do about it? How are we going to solve the problem? I think there are three core things we can do as a private sector to focus on addressing this gap. First of all, we have to democratize access to knowledge and technology.
Okay.
That is something that is incredibly important to do. And each company, each organization can think about what can we do, what part can we play. We heard about some of the things the government is doing to democratize that. From a private sector perspective, one of the things we've done at Autodesk is made our software available for free to every accredited institution around the world.
I wanted to ask you whether you're able to also democratize your own data and give it to us.
Well, you can read it. You can read about it in the annual State of Design and Make report. We release it every year.
Right.
So there you go. We're democratizing our data that way. But we have made our software available. So our software is currently being used by over 100 million students and educators in over 160,000 schools around the world. And so that's one of the ways you can do that, is by democratizing access to technology, to knowledge. The second thing is we actually have to partner with our educational institutions to make sure that the technical know-how, the skills are really being understood. Because it's not enough to learn the theory. You have to actually know how to make it real and make it more practical. So understanding how these skills can be utilized in the workforce is important. That means the private sector has to partner with educational institutions on the curriculum, on the learning centers, so that when our students, our young people are entering the workforce, they're capable. It doesn't take them 6 months to a year to ramp up. They're ready to go right from day one. So that is another thing that we can do. And last but certainly not least, the private sector has to partner and work with the rest of the folks in the ecosystem, work with nonprofit organizations, work with governments, work with academia, because it's by coming together that we will be able to solve the skills gap problem that exists. And we can be a convener, right? So hi to all the sponsors out there. It's important to play an active role in doing that. And I'm really proud of the partnership that Autodesk has with WorldSkills. We have been partnering with WorldSkills for 18 years. So this is important because sometimes, yes, let's celebrate that. 18 years of a great partnership and counting. And one of the things that I think is important to remember is you cannot partner on a one-time basis. It has to be sustained. Change doesn't just happen instantly. Change happens with consistent support. And so that's one of the things I think we can focus on and do together.
That's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So it's a perfect segue to Marty. We'd like to discuss the skills gap, but one of the things that has been alluded to is the role of the private sector. But the reality and you'll agree with me, most of the countries we operate in most of the decisions solely lie on governments and the public sector, right? So just help us unpack a bit some of the things that happen behind the scenes that a lot of us need to know about the policy-making process so that private sector knows where to come in. Because don't forget, the private sector has the people with the huge chunks of money and also the young entrepreneurs getting into the space. So just help us understand the policy-making process, some tips on how the private sector can also come in.
Well, thank you, Georgie. And I think Jeffrey laid out the pillars I thought were very impressive. And Dara's point is very well taken. The private sector is a real convener. I've worked in workforce development for a long time. And workforce development is the largest engine for economic development and community development. And it starts with our youth. For us at Stanley Black & Decker, we are a large multinational, and private industry brings a few things that others can't. The first, it is jobs. Mm-hmm. The second, it is capital. And inside of the private sector, there's a bias for action. So if capital is deployed to a project like this, there's very little patience. People want to see results, and it does take a long time, but there should be incremental progress. So for us, we believe that you can really build forums, but it takes all the stakeholders in the ecosystem. It takes everyone to participate in the ecosystem, and we just can't solve for representation because that's a passive verb. We need participation. We need active engagement from all stakeholders. So for us, we're very humbled by this journey. This is very hard, what we're trying to do here. So we know it takes, the wisdom is somewhere in the room with everyone in the room. So we need as much participation as possible.
Right. If you were to challenge a commissioner here, what would be one challenge to him for the years that come in terms of getting more people to?
Well, I mean, we work with WorldSkills before this event to set a survey up. Some of you may have seen the results in a press release, but we surveyed the makers. We surveyed the contestants here, and 91% loved being in the trade, 70% loved working with their hands, but 42% said there's a stigma to the trade and skill they're working on. 35% said their parents didn't really like it. And why did they go into trades? 50% said social media influenced them. 50% said the schools. So we need to build systems, not just from institutions out to people, but people back to institutions, because institutions have a bias for their legacy, how they're organizing principles. And our organizing principles needs to be the youth that are standing up here and build a system back to our system.
Right, so people-led, we like that.
People-led, culture built, right? Yeah.
People-led, culture built. Okay, is that trademarked?
For you it is.
Okay, okay. Right, Srinivas, let's come to you. When all is prepared and presented, all the policy, the frameworks, the tools to advance these skill systems are put together, the marketing and comms team has disseminated the information, what remains is adoption, right? Adoption is tough. But I'm speaking from this side. Is it tough on your end?
First of all, I'm delighted to be here representing the ILO in this WorldSkills, such a wonderful energy all over, and it's great to be here listening to all the great minds and looking at the young people. Is it tough? Yeah, in a way it is tough, but it's possible. How I see this, people who are sitting around here, friends and colleagues, we don't have to convince each other why skills are important and what we need to do. Everyone here is more than well informed. What we need to see, probably, looking at the energy and the kind of calls that I'm seeing, we almost need kind of skills revolution in the world today. And I say this with a very clear understanding, because it requires massive public movement and social change. Marty has just mentioned stigma is still there in various parts of the world. While we say that TVET is important and we have to take it to the top of the global agenda, we need to fight the stigma and elevate the image of the TVET. And really, it can be brought about only through massive public movements and massive engagements like this. The WorldSkills is doing a wonderful job, great job. And today we see a lot of leaders, and we need to see more leaders. In conferences like this, we need to see political leaders at the highest level, heads of the governments and heads of the states, to be able to translate these calls into commitments and actually deliver.
Let me tell you one of the phrases that a lot of people who sit on a panel say, we need to. Who is we? Because within ILO, for example, the role of international organizations has almost been mapped out so clearly. So when we sit on a panel and you say we need to, we really need you to say what is required to be done. For example, you have very specific labor strategies, and you've done a report on the same. We'd like to understand where labor is headed. Right? You can almost map it out because of the data that you've collected from different people within the ecosystem. So just guide us a bit more, right? Where's the future of work? What's the international organization's role? And then we'll kind of see, okay, we're clear about where we're going.
Okay, very good question, Georgie. looking at the things to be done, the public opinion, influencing the public opinion world over, and advocacy on some of these key important factors. For example, how do you attack the stigma? How do you improve image? Looking at Yusra and so many 25,000 young people here, it gives you confidence that you need to recognize skills, first of all. You need to reward people that they're doing it. Reward, and I say, even remunerate well. In many parts of the world still, some of these occupations are not very well remunerated. So you need to recognize the skills, reward them, and reaffirm skills are important. Beauty is everybody agrees that skills are important. Even if you go to a national context, everybody, top politicians in the country will agree that skills are important. Okay, so how can we take it to the next level in terms of actual implementation? Increasing investment in skills. Yusra asked for increasing investment in skills. One important thing, that how can we influence public policy? So we, who are we? ILO, we are very unique. We are the body that has governments, 187 countries, governments, employers, and workers' organizations that represent the true labor market players. And we need to have youth on board and people on board. And these are the people that can make a difference. So that is what I mean in the ILO context.
All right, perfect. Okay, so we'll hold on to that. Thank you very much. Borhen, please, let's come to you. This is a significant moment for global cooperation. The countries represented in this room alone, let alone those who've been following from all around the world, it's phenomenal. In a few days, the UN will convene the Summit of the Future, right? And one of the things that we've noted is that skills has slid away from SDGs, and of course realizing those goals has become farther and further over thoughts, right? Where does TVET stand right now, and how do you envision will stand following the Pact of the Future?
Good afternoon. Thank you for the question. And let me start first by congratulation words to the French government who organized the Olympics, the Paralympics, and the WorldSkills. And I think it's very important to recognize the efforts, but also the success. Also, congratulate WorldSkills team, David and the teams who really made this success, and obviously having WorldSkills in driving this agenda around skills is very important for us, and this multi-stakeholder platform that is unique and is very important to insist, and this is how you have this panel as well, is very important for all of us. Now, coming to your question, I think the Summit of the Future is, of course, a very important moment. And let me start with the young people, because I think we had the great opportunity to have Yusra. I think what the Secretary General has said is that to deal with youth, either you ignore them, or you pretend that you are listening to them, or you make them partner, real partner. I think WorldSkills made that happen, making youth real partner. And that means, and leveraging what Yusra said, is nothing about youth without youth. It's the same thing as with the private sector, nothing about private sector without the private sector. But what is the challenge for us? I think we are facing three major challenges that we have to address, and the Summit of the Future is covering, but obviously we have other agendas that are coming that will be addressed. First of all, I think the mother of the battles will be how we understand the change in the labor market and be able to respond proactively to those changes. But how you prepare young people to jobs that will probably change and disappear, and jobs that will appear in the near future. And I think today we speak a lot about the competition between human intelligence and artificial intelligence. But it's also a competition between human skills and artificial skills and artificial intelligence skills. And we need to prepare young people for that. And the third, and it responds to your question, is are we able as an international community, and your question to Srinivas, who are we? It's all of us. How we are able to act so that in the agenda of the Summit of the Future, in the agenda of the post-2030, skills remains high in the agenda. And I think we have three vectors for that. Young people first, because they are active. They can go on Friday demonstration. We have seen when youth wanted to make the demonstration on climate, they have made it. So I think youth have to do these Friday or Saturday or Sunday skills. That's a very important, and Srinivas was mentioning about the public opinion. Youth can change the public opinion, it's very important. The second is this partnership between the private sector, the public, and the international organization, and this is something that can drive the agenda forward and can set us in direction. And the third, I think this stigma around skills, we have to address it in a different manner than what we have done until now. First of all, we know that countries who removed that stigma are the countries who made better pathways between TVET and other sectors, including general and higher education. We know that countries who removed that stigma are the countries that offered better workplace learning opportunities and better revenue from the skills development. And we know that the countries who removed that stigma are the countries that created a better public opinion. That's the case in Finland after the WorldSkills, that's the case in many other countries. So we have this solution that we need to take. But probably the most important, and I stop with that, is that we don't want to prepare and equip youth with the skills that harm the world. We don't want to prepare youth with the skills that are no longer relevant for our community and for the international agenda. We don't want to prepare youth with the skills that are not the ones that are equal, that are gender equal, that can reduce the poverty, that can address gender equality, that can address equity and inclusion. And it's very important, and we have to put it on the table. Today, we have divides. We have wealth divide across economies, we have wealth divide within economies. And if skills are not the ones that can drive and can address this divide, we are in trouble.
Right. Okay. Please allow me to direct my attention to you guys. You've been having the conversations, but you're the ones who are also really going to take part in executing. And I mean everyone who was discussing within the youth forums and the convention. Are you confident with what's being discussed here? Give me a thumbs up if we can move on. We only move on with the agenda if you say we're okay. Sonia and team? Confident? Okay. Please, round of applause to the... Now, Yusra, we'd love to hear from you your final thoughts. And then, we'd like to hear all of you on the panel make one commitment. The reason why we said we'll speak to Yusra first is because we know a lot of it is extremely, you have to go back to your organizations as well. So just take a minute. As Yusra speaks, we'll come to each one of you for one commitment between now and again, just the next 1 year, you commit to doing X. Yusra.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank for including youth throughout this conference. And I believe that we should have more leaders who believe in youth. We need more leaders like Maureen, who is constantly providing platforms for youth and see their true capabilities. And we need more of those voices at the summit of the future to remind us 3 key points that are: gender should not dictate your career path, and also where you live should not limit access to education. The second is we need skills to be at the top of mind while thinking and discussing about education and development. And finally, we should include youth and give more opportunities for youth perspective. Because as I was listening, what comes to my mind is that the system that creates today's problems are not going to be the system that fixes them.
Wow.
Thank you.
So I know I'd just like to kind of take a look. Do we have time for Q&A? Do we have any time? Where is the
You're
team?
in charge.
Yeah, I need to. I think I am, just like you guys, right? We think we are, but it's the young guys. Yeah, yeah. Do we have time? Okay. Let's please get some few questions. Mind you, this is the final discussion. If there's anything that's been burning over the last 2 days that you'd like addressed, let's throw it to the panelists. Please remember the question we asked about one commitment. Do we have any questions? Yes, there's one there.
Thank you so much. I'm called Fiston Fikiri Chirimwami. I come from DRC, Congo. I work with Assist International, an American organization supporting TVET centers in DRC, Tanzania, and India. So there is one question I've been asking. Actually, I talked to someone, but I'm not seeing him here. But I would like to hear from the panel about their views. We are facing a challenge whereby we have to train youth who will integrate mining sectors in DRC. And, we are having different challenges coming from the government side. And this is a situation whereby we are supposed to push the private sector to support the TVET sector. And those guys are business guys. So, according to you, which language or which reasons can we show them which will motivate them to support the private sector? How should we phrase it? Like to tell them, you guys, you have interest in this. You should have interest in this. You should support this sector. And then for them, they are saying for each dollar how much I'm gaining. So how to address that issue there when policies are not there? When government is not setting policy to oblige them to support the TVET sector.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we have an adoption question. Bit of an adoption. Do you want to touch on that? Okay.
I really like the question because it addresses something that I would like to mention is very important. And because I know about the mining sector in DR Congo and in other sectors in other countries. There is a reality is that the economic fabric in different economies is different. If DR Congo continue just extracting and exporting the wealth of mines that they have, they will never be able to grow and to create better jobs and decent jobs. They will remain with low-skilled and low-end and low-skills equilibrium. So the question is about what is the economic decision that is taking to create a value chain. And the question to the private sector, are we creating a value chain in DR Congo? And that means we are creating different set of skills that are needed. And that means creating better jobs for the Congolese. This is a geopolitical, it's a macroeconomic, but it's also a question to the we that you are asking Srinivas about, the international community. How we create better economies that can create better jobs, decent works, that can create then a demand for skills in a partnership. Otherwise, we are in a trouble because the economies are different. And 80% of the economy in Africa is informal economy. And we have a challenge, all of us, to address these.
I saw Srinivas pick up his microphone, yeah.
Thank you. Very good question from the colleague from DRC Congo. I totally supplement what Borin said. The value addition is a critical aspect to really encourage private sector. But more importantly, world over, as Borin has already mentioned, skills development is successful when we put the private sector in the lead along with the workers' organizations and the youth in the decision making, not consultation, decision making. If we really want private sector to play the role in TVET promotion in DRC Congo, put the point on decision making along with employers and their organizations and workers' organizations and all government agencies. Through a process of social dialogue, I have no doubt to say that they will come up with a solution that will be better than any one singular agency can come up with.
All right.
I would like to give a suggestion at the risk of not knowing everything you're trying to solve for. When you work with the private sector, try and oversubscribe the amount of companies or the amount of participation that you need. The private sector is a very short attention span. Leaders come and go. Some will engage, some will pull back. So if you need 5 companies to support your initiative, bring 10 companies to the problem. Because some will be in the front seat today, some in the back seat, and they'll move. But you want to solve for engagement, and then they will decide when they can be strong and hire, when they're weak and they have to cut back.
Oversubscribe the private sector. We're getting a lot of gems. Shweta.
Hi. So this question is to both Borhin and Srinivas. You both mentioned about how we need to bring changes. For example, you said we need the economy to become better to be able to support these systems. Or you mentioned we need to tackle the stigma around some of these skills. But I want to hear about how we're going to be doing that, or how your organizations are already taking care of that. So if you could take that up.
Difficult question to Srinivas.
Thank you. So this is our bread and butter also in terms of really how we continuously work with our partners in promoting skills development across the world. Because what is the critical issue is, it is the issue of jobs, skills, and aspirations mismatch. In many parts of the world, there are no adequate number of decent jobs in the first place. So investments have to be increased to create decent jobs in your own economies first. So the whole lot of economic policies have to speak to creating decent jobs. And then when there are jobs, employers are complaining that they do not get the people with the right set of skills. So how do we match the jobs and skills? By putting the private sector and the schools, and so the world of work and the world of education, bring them together so that they decide, not the government agencies. Government agencies need to facilitate. When we play that role, we are trying to reduce the mismatch. And more importantly, looking at Yusra and a number of other colleagues, it is the third dimension, aspirations dimension, which is very important. What people want. So involve them in the decision making. Because we have seen countries where there are jobs and skills, but people want to do something different. So they're not matching. A PhD is driving a truck, or a master's degree holder is doing a call center job. See the kind of mismatch. So the aspirations dimension of it is very important. So, so what we are doing is to really promote a process of social dialogue in every country between private sector, workers and their organizations, youth and their organizations, and the government agencies, whole of government. There are countries where as many as 18, 20 government departments do skills development. Do they cooperate? This is one angle. So, bringing them, all of them together, and speak to the policy coherence. When they want to promote economic development in a sector, that economic ministry, are they talking about human development, skills development? So that is the kind of policy coherence that we are supporting. Thank you.
Yeah, I know you want to say something. Maybe we could also get the microphone there to prepare for the question next.
No, I wanted to build on what Srinivas, and I think it's a very important question. What we have learned is that some of the countries have reforms that are beautiful on the paper, but they are not implemented. And that gap between the design of a strategy and its implementation is very important, and ensuring that it's implemented. That's where private sector can come in, and the push toward the partnership is very important. But there is a fact, again, I'm sorry, I need to bring this again to the global. Most of the middle and low-income countries today have to reimburse more than 50% of their GDP for their debt. They have no resources to be able to invest in vocational training. And this should be a matter of concern for all of us, is where the resources will come from. If a government cannot borrow or is already having a high level of debt. Of course, in vocational training, the partnership with the private sector can bring also resources. In our analysis, we have more than 70 countries who have a training fund, a tax on the payroll, and France is one important example where companies do contribute to skills development. But the problem is a global one. Today, countries have lack of resources, and the Summit of the Future that you refer to is offering two important initiatives. One, to reform the international financing system, including IMF, World Bank. Second, is to work toward how to reduce the debt and how to ensure that countries have the capacity to invest in sustainable development agenda.
Right. Commissioner, you want to say something as well, Dara?
I was going to say that, when you think about bringing the private sector to the table, it's really important that the private sector understands what's going to be the return on my investment.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the pieces that sometimes is missing from these conversations. Because if you think about it, if I invest in vocational training, and then all of a sudden I have very skilled workers that are productive and push my business forward, I'm incentivized to support that. I'm incentivized to participate. But private sector organizations, for the most part, are for-profit companies that have a duty to their shareholders and their investors. And so making sure that you can tie the economic value and the benefit to what the private sector is going to get is going to be critical. I completely agree with what Marty said about oversubscribing, but when you can tie it to economic value, even when you do go through those highs and lows, the partners that were always invested will stick through those highs and lows, right? Because the economy, we know the economy goes through cycles, right? That's the reality. But if I understand that this investment is going to pay off, I'm not going to just pull away when things get hard. I'm going to push through. Right. So I think that tying things to the economic benefit and the economic value is really key, especially in countries who might have to rely more on the private sector to take a bigger role than the government.
Thanks, Nara. Thanks for that realistic intervention. High Commissioner?
Thank you. I would like to react to what you said and what you said also, Baron and Dora. In France, we launched a reform, and you are right. Now we need the private sector in the long run to help us, because one pillar of the reform is strengthening the links between private sector and high schools locally to match skills and need, because we also have issues of mobility. That's a challenge, and it requires commitment on both sides in the long run. I just would like to say that, yes, companies, their first aim is the return, right? But you also have social return. In my opinion, it is also part of the objectives of a company. And what is great with skills and investment in skills is that you have both, right? and so that's what we need to strengthen partnerships in the long run, to have both.
Right. Love that. Wait, Borhead, wait. Can we hold for just 1 sec? Okay.
On this, just because I think the points are important, but we have 3 countries that have managed to address the economic dimension, but also the human right dimension.
Okay.
France, Singapore, and Republic of Korea, just an example. In France, the companies, they pay the tax, they can get return because they invest in skills development. But also the government has established a lifelong learning entitlement, what is called the learning account. And that's an individual choice because, as you said, the economy can change. So the system has to allow people to continue learning as a human right, as an entitlement. And that's the case in Singapore, where you have a voucher that can allow you to continue learning as a lifelong learning engagement. But companies are also engaged in that. The same for the Republic of Korea. So I think the system has to take into account the economic return, the engagement of the private sector, the capability to invest and to get return, but also to ensure that individuals have an entitlement to continue learning, because when there is an economic crisis, there is less investment.
Perfect.
And there should be a system that allow individuals to continue learning and lifelong learning perspective. Thank you very much.
Love that. Perfect. We'll get the final question, please.
Thank you. The government is investing in skills development, and I have noticed that in my country in South Africa. But however, the learners are being trained and they qualify. But when I go to site, I work as a building school coordinator. When I go to site to do site inspections or to train people on site, I find that most of these people are not qualified. But we have trained young people and they qualified. They are sitting home with certificates, not employed. But on site, we've got people that do not have any qualification but are working. How do we solve that problem? Because the companies do not want to pay the qualified people, so they opt to employ the people that are not qualified. And the guys that we are training and giving them certificate as qualified artisans are sitting at home with no jobs.
Okay. I mean, that's a crucial one, because we've been talking about within the excellence within TVET, one of the things was, do we need certification to then say, you're fantastic at the skills you do, but there are already people who exist and doing great work without certification. So let's address that. Do you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah.
You don't
I'll
mind?
take a stab at it. I think this is a really fundamental point. And the analogy I use is something different, but in cybersecurity, in the top 200 companies in the world, the person, the man or woman running the cybersecurity for that government institution or company, none of them have graduated with a degree in cybersecurity. Because when they came in, they moved all the way up and learned on the job. And what we need to do societally is to figure out how to take experience and turn that into a credential so that people have value. If you went to 2 years of university and didn't finish, today it's no degree or I almost got a degree. It's 100 or 0. And we got to find a way to transmit our value to others that don't know us.
Right.
I don't have an answer to that, but it's the right question.
As you give your feedback, I can see Albert, who's here, and I know maybe that's something that maybe we could come to you to give just a bit of intervention on that. We have a lot of, I mean, we see a lot of manual labor, even in East Africa, where people, you don't want to hire this person, they don't even know the job, they're good at masonry, but they don't know how to do it on ground. So maybe just speaking about what certification, qualification, that mismatch that has been addressed, will come to you. Right.
You said it actually, you raised a very, very important point that is reality in many parts of the world where you have a qualification but really do not possess the skills employers are looking for. And many people have skills but they do not have the qualifications or the certification. This is one of the huge public policy gap today in the world. We see from an international organization perspective, we do not have a dynamic assessment and certification mechanism for TVET, for people learning on the job throughout their life. We acquire skills throughout our lifetime, but our qualifications speak to when we left the school or university. So a 40-year-old, currently, what is his skill level, his or her skill level, is what he is referring to. For example, in a particular case, the people are very skilled, but they have not gone to school. Yeah. So we need to develop systems of recognition, skills recognition, various ways, skills recognition through recognition of prior learning, credentials, and today the technology world has shown many examples. The tech world does assessment and certification almost every 6 months or 1 year. You know, when we talk to them, next year they're talking something different. Right. They're not waiting for public policy to change. Whereas for hundreds of millions of people to benefit, public policy has to address this gap. How can we enable people to go and assess and get their skills assessed in a credible manner, but in an affordable manner? Credibility and affordability are important.
All right.
These two.
I like that. So different learning pathways, but now you've added another one, different recognition pathways as well. Okay. Let's please get the microphone there.
Ladies and gentlemen, the second day of competition is about to finish. We would like to invite you to exit the building and wish you a nice evening. Thank you. Mesdames et messieurs, le deuxième jour de compétition.
Ladies and gentlemen, the second day of competition is coming to an end. So we would simply like to wish you a wonderful evening. Good evening.
The building yet. I saw you try to exit. Wait. Yeah.
Especially before I speak.
Yeah.
But the discussion is very interesting and actually connect with the discussion we had this morning. What we are saying in the context of Africa, first of all, our organization, ADEA, we are promoting the transition from TVET to TVSD, Technical Vocational Skills Development, making it flexible. Because when you look at the numbers of young people that are looking for skills, if we continue using the class-based TVET, we're not going to make it. It's a huge number. So let's bring flexibility. And this is where I want to compliment a colleague from the ILO. There are two set of groups. There are these young people that have hands-on skills, but they are lacking recognition of their skills. So there have been initiatives to test these hands-on skills. There are even websites that have been developed. These young people can go to testing center. They will actually be tested, their hands-on skills, and they will get a certificate. There may be even some adjustment. So the testing center will be able to tell from the evaluate assessment the kind of training they need to add to get a certain level of flexibility. And this is where I like the modular system that meets the needs in the labor market. So that's really one way of doing this, and will bring flexibility and adaptability. The second is an important point that you make, what we call survival mode, where a young man has no job, is trying to struggle with plumbing or any other to make money. And this is where, again, we're saying even the existing training system need to cope with them, allowing these young people to come for a specific training to help them master whatever needs training they need. But more importantly, and this is why I joined the idea of bringing the private sector on board. I remember when I was in the ministry, we developed what we call workplace learning. So companies create an opportunity for young people to come and get training from the companies, and they get also certification. And that certification, companies can actually be certified. We don't necessarily look for a training center, even a company, provided they have the willingness. And when we talk about partnership, we're not just looking at resources funding, we're also looking at the knowledge, the expertise available. That does not have a cost. It's huge. So if these engineers working in the private sector can allocate a bit of their time to supervise these young people, to engage in entrepreneurship, it makes a big difference. So those are really some of the things we need to look at. And of course, I concur with most of what people are saying. Let's look at the future of work depends much on how we're going to embrace technologies. How do we train these young people so that they can be able to solve not only the problem of today, prepare to adapt to the future problem. I think this is what we are talking about. Thank you so much.
Really do appreciate it very much. He led a thriving ministry, so that's why we wanted to throw to him for intervention. One sentence. Marty, you commit to one sentence.
I commit to, over the next year, making skills, achievement, and attainment as prestigious as any other attainment. Because I think we haven't made skills as prestigious as they should be, and people respect what we inspect in life, and we should give more prestige to skills. We all can do that.
All right, got you. You commit to?
Yes, I have two commitments. The first one, I commit to come back to a WorldSkills competition, national and international. And second commitment is, yesterday Catherine Vautrin, Minister of Labour, committed on 1 million apprentices in 2027. But I have two bosses, Catherine Vautrin and Nicole Belloubet. And for the education, the commitment is at the end of mid-school, young people should know about 50 jobs. Today it's like about 10, and it's very important.
Okay, very solid, quantifiable. All right, so we have two, Tara.
So I commit to ensuring that we improve the awareness and the importance of the skills training. I think that there's been conversations about the stigma that is associated with that, and I think having the private sector step up and say, these skills are incredibly valuable, these skills are useful, and also we hire for these skills, I think will help to shift some of that negative perception. So I commit to making sure that I'm doing my part and that we at Autodesk are doing our part to not only promote skills, but that we reinforce that we are hiring for those skills.
Right.
Moving TVET to the top of the global agenda requires many of these kind of world skills and new and more partnerships. So I commit to promote more and new global partnerships on skills.
That's very ambiguous. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. You dodged and used the theme. Okay. We'll go with you, and then Yusra will speak last.
Well, I have an operational commitment. We have an initiative that we call the Global Skills Academy, where we are trying to train and equip youth, 10 million youth with the skills that is required in the labor market, together with many partners. And that's a commitment that we are having as an organization, but on which I'm contributing. The second commitment is, and I'm looking at David and the colleagues, is, and it builds on what Srinivas, we have to act together to keep the skills at the high in the agenda. And you asked me that question regarding why skills is not high in the political agenda. I think because sometimes we are not strong and bold in the way we are advocating. And having these partners, having the private sector and the ministries, government and international organization is critical. So I commit to work with colleagues, work with WorldSkills to ensure that skills remain high in the agenda, and we are already thinking about the post-2030. So it's very important that we act together here and now to ensure that it is high in the agenda.
Okay. Yusra, I know you gave us part of your closing statement prior, but what are you committing to? Wrap it up also with your closing.
I commit to always be the voice of youth and to be always available for advocating youth and helping youth to achieve their passion and to follow their passion.
Fantastic. Let's please give the warmest round of applause, everyone. We've not left anyone out, right? Yusra, you had given your closing statement before? You're good to go? Yeah. Perfect. So at this point, we'd like to get our closing remarks. High Commissioner, we'd really love for you to say something, and then, of course, we'll throw to David to just wrap it up. But we could all kindly have our seats, and then we'll leave the stage entirely to the High Commissioner. Thank you very much, everyone, to the lectern.
So this closing speech will be a thank you speech. But a general thank you speech, not just for the conference, but for the whole event. And so there will be many thank you, and you know that's a bit risky, because the more thank you you give, you see, if you forget someone, it can be quite difficult after. So I would start with an apologize for those I will necessarily forget.
Dear ministers, dear representatives of international organizations, dear representatives of the vocational and educational training system, dear representatives of WorldSkills, ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends. What a fabulous path we have traveled since 2019 to carry out this large-scale project. I want to start by paying a tribute to those who supported the French candidacy in 2019 and to those who have continued to defend it over all these years, long until today. I would first like to express my warmest thanks to the President of the French Republic and his team, in particular Pierre-André Imbert, former social advisor and today's French ambassador to Australia, who believed the most in the French candidacy. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the foreign ministers, ambassadors, and consuls as well as the representatives of the 11 international organizations who are here with us today. I am very proud to say that more than 45 countries have been represented too. Thank you so much. The French ministers of Labor and Education have been involved at the highest level in the organization of this event, Catherine Vautrin and Nicole Belloubet. And I would like also to thank Muriel Pénicaud, who was the first Minister of Labor to support the French candidacy, and who continued to promote it. Thank you to Carole Grandjean, former VET Minister, who successfully carried out the reform of the professional path in France. And of course, thank you to the competitors, the champions, experts, who came from all over the planet to defend their colors of their country and bring out the best professional standards. We are here today thanks to them, so thank you very much. Thank you to the elected officials in Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes and Lyon. Thank you to the Mayor of Lyon for their support. Thank you to all elected officials who contribute with passion to the success of the WorldSkills and of this conference. Thank you to Florence, who had a crucial role in the success of WorldSkills in France. And I also want to pay tribute to the tremendous mobilization of state services in the region, and particularly the Préfecture, Madame Préfecte and Virginie Bazin. I want to thank the Rectorate of Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes that enabled the mobilization of schools to promote the competition throughout the French territory and beyond, and it is a success today. Of course, thank you to all the partners, all the companies and their representatives that helped sponsor the event, without whom nothing would have been possible. Thank you very much. I would like to have a special word for the organizing committee. The WorldSkills Lyon 2024 team, with Max Roche, its president, and Franck Leroux, its general delegate. They have done a great job to organize this event, working hard in, I will say, an uncertain political context. And thank you so much. I will now express my gratitude to WorldSkills International, of course, for its president, Chris Humphreys. I'm really happy to have met you and to have a chance to speak with you. Thank you very much, Chris. And of course, thank you, David. David, whose work and involvement have been essential for making this movement a great success. Dear David, throughout the preparation of the competition, you were with your team also, the guarantor of the quality of the event, and without your personal and decisive help, all this wouldn't have been possible. So thank you so much, David. But it is not the end, it is not a goodbye, it is not the end of the competition, as you know, and the conference is certainly closing. It was very interesting, and it was crucial because, you know, it's part of the WorldSkills competition and WorldSkills event to have exchanges between us to make progress together. But the competition itself is far from over. So I will see you all, I think, at the end of the week at the Groupama Stadium this Sunday for the medal ceremony and the closing ceremony. We will also have the honor of passing out the WorldSkills flag to China with the presence of Minister Wang. Now, for the final closing of this conference, I would like to invite Mr. David Hoey to join me on stage. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, just a few more minutes and we are out of here. I am very humbled to be standing here to help close the WorldSkills Conference, and Jeff Roy reminded me this journey started in 2019 when France versus Aichi, Japan, and the members voted to have this competition. COVID intervened, but we're here, delivery, and when you walked around outside today, you saw what a WorldSkills competition was about. Excellence being demonstrated and benchmarked inside, and thousands of young people, parents, educators, policymakers being made aware of what was available in the labour market today and what is excellence. The last 2 days have been a powerful, invigorating and inspirational experience. Moving TVET to the top of the global agenda was our goal, and it drives us in all aspects that we do. And we thank you for joining us in that conversation. Next week at the UN in New York, they sit down to talk about the SDG goals, and our friends like Borhin and the ILO and others will take that through and hope to see a greater profile of that there. We've learned our industry partners make building a workforce for their industry a priority, and two speakers here before talk about that partnership, education, industry and government. As I've learned a lot about the world and 89 members over the years, we've seen that that relationship is critical. In addition to the 1,400 or 1,400 competitors who are representing their nationals on the global stage, we're proud to have so many young people take place in our conference. And I don't know about you, but years through before, I was there mesmerised just hearing the composure, the context and the message that came through. And my commitment is to continue that youth development. I took over the organisation, tasked to professionalise it in 2004. We held our first General Assembly after that in 2006. I had not a single email address or contact of any past competitor who'd been through this organisation. So concurrent with our General Assembly, where all the guys in suits and girls in suits talk, we got former competitors back. And we ran a concurrent youth forum like we had here. And we got them to present in the final session of that General Assembly, and I'll never forget it. It's changed the way we work. The headline, the title of that conference was Just the Beginning. And so our commitment as we've evolved over the years to always have that youth voice and our Champions Trust. Anyone who's been through a WorldSkills competition, independent of whether they win a medal, we call a champion because they've risen to the challenge of representing their country and are here. And so our Champions Trust, equal boys and girls, equal representation across all the continents and all the sectors of industry. And when Borhin, and that's why he talked about it before, when they say, can a guy in a suit or a girl in a suit come and talk? We say, no. We will send one of our youth representatives because they have been through the system. They're the voice of youth. And so to you guys, we salute you. And to the Youth Forum, just keep pushing and keep arguing with us. As long as you're... And of course, as Jeff Roy said it, we are indebted to the French Republic. Under the presidency of President Macron, made this event happen, including the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Labour, Health and Solidarity, who shared our vision for what a WorldSkills competition is and to help drive skills development on a national, and global level. So the conference is complete, but our work must continue in haste. So whether you do find yourself at the United Nations next week pushing this forward or going back to grassroots development, every one of them is equally important. Today, I don't know the actual numbers, but I know it's more than 20,000. You know, thousands of school children touring the competition today, the last few days. They watched our competitors, and you can see it. The intense curiosity as they start to try things with their own hands. Those trial skills are so important. So they've been inspired to explore new ideas and reach new heights. And so I invite you to do the same. And we'll use this conference and your time at WorldSkills Competition 2024 to be a catalyst for change. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you at the competition tomorrow.
Right. So where I'm from, it's improper to speak after the head of the house has spoken. So we'll finish off with something. At the beginning of the session, yesterday morning, there was one particular word we said when we said "un, deux, trois." We'll check whether we can remember. Let's all kindly stand to wrap things up. To all of you who have passports, prepare. The next one will be in Shanghai, China. I know you'll enjoy the competition tomorrow, but un, deux, trois. Fantastic. Thank you very much. My name is George Ndirango. I've thoroughly enjoyed spending time with you. We'll see you on a different stage. Thanks.